past, present and emerging. And we recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with the land, and we acknowledge that they are a continuing importance of the Kaurna people living today. Also read you the Council Pledge. We seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our praying for the peace and prosperity of our city. Please be seated. And also just remind you that we are being telecast globally at the moment, subject to a cyber attack or something. So we've got relatives overseas. We're told to tune in. Now's the time to say hi and welcome. On leave, we have nil. Apologies we have from Deputy Mayor. Yes. And I have an apology from Councillor Harris. I've assumed he's here. We've been told he's coming. No apology. Okay. Mike Pate, thank you for Councillor Rippon. Do we have any declarations by members of a conflict of interest for any item tonight? Didn't see any. Okay, confirmation of the minutes is the next item. Someone happy to confirm that the minutes of the meeting for the 27th of September be taken as read and confirmed as a true record. So moved. Oh, look at that. Oh, score. I would say, I'll give it. Other people would say dead heat, but I've done this gig for 16 years, and I've heard Councillor Group just before, and so an examination of a photo. You agree? Okay. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Group?
Nothing.
Seconder, Councillor Barnett, happy to be a seconder.
Yeah.
And do you wish to speak to it? No. Any further debate?
Yeah, all I'll say is at least you also want to develop in the score of use, so you just make the call.
Yeah, that's right. And no red card either. Any further debate? That concludes the debate. All those in favour, against is carried unanimously. Thank you. Public question time. We have 15 minutes and 3 minutes per question. I see one member of the gallery for public question time. Hi, honey. Did you want to come forward and ask a question in public question time? No. So I thought you might want to come and ask why am I leaving or something like that. But, anyway, thank you. I'm going to draw public question time to a close because it's like there is no one else in the gallery. For those who can't see, that's what's occurring. Petitions, we have nil. Deputations, nil. Questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice tonight? Councillor Back.
Yep. So just through the chair, I was just inquiring if there will be anyone in attendance at the upcoming review of the EPA nuisance draft that's coming up.
CEO.
Yes, through you, Mayor Lachlan. Yes, we discussed it as a staff body yesterday when we learned of the consultation. There'll be at least 2 staff there, including the director, and I'm strongly considering going myself. It's a topic of significant importance to our community, and we understand that it's the outcome of that process and our capacity and role in managing nuisance issues on a local level is really important. So we'll have representation there.
Okay, thank you. A second question.
Can I ask a question further to that?
Yes.
So just in relation, I understand the benefit of other elected members that light is also being added to the reading of nuisance, and just noting that is there discussions going on with planning regarding some of the issues that are raised at agenda item 12.2 regarding medium density construction.
CEO.
Mr. McCluskey, can I ask you to take that one?
Through the chair, I did hear a radio interview yesterday with the Minister of Environment talking about a relationship to planning policy and other matters. But at present, there's no proposal to amend the policy on planning design code. There's no discussion and stay around incorporating that into the miscellaneous technical marks and the code amendment is the subject of item 12.2. So not aware of any direct linkage or issue.
Okay, thank you. Councillor.
One further question. Just in regards to submissions for approval through the Plan SA portal, in a character area, is there a requirement for the applicant to supply visual reference to the locale? So that's the first question through the chair.
CEO.
Mr. McCluskey.
Through the chair, there is not. I will briefly add that when the character area and historic area guidelines were released in March last year to the industry assessment manager, a range of councils indicated unless certain things were mandatory documents under the regulations that they really wouldn't have the teeth that I think they were intended to have, and we've not seen that reflected in legislation.
Thank you.
Just a question further to this, there was a link to a Plan SA document, character overlay design advisory guidelines, PDF, which does show streetscape visually. Will the internal process change to line with this new advisory document to ensure the applicant supplies said information so that submission is accessible?
So, yeah,
Mr. McCluskey.
Through the chair, I can confirm that while it looks as though this was a new document, this is the same document that, as far as I can tell, it's the one that was released in March of last year. It still remains the case that mandatory documents are prescribed in the under document structure regulations and not the whole process of any particular council. So we advocated then, we'll continue to advocate these documents form part of mandatory documents.
good answer and good question, frustrating outcome at the moment. Any other questions without notice? Councillor Rick?
Would it be possible for Councillor Harrison's apologies to be noted in the meeting? So I've just heard that from him that he's actually unable to make it. And he thought that he declined the appointment and also cancelled his meal order at the time. So he thought the apology went in.
Of course, there was no meal for him tonight. Yeah, so apologies. We will
So
report
do
that. Then.
we need a motion to note that, or can we just get moving?
CEO. It's just noted, isn't it? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you for finding that out for us. Thank you. Councillor Group.
Thank you. I just had a question in relation to the rotunda in St Helens Park. I've had a couple of queries from residents around the process to repair that and the sort of potential timelines for that to be done. Just wondering if I could ask that question as to what the process is and any potential timelines for that to be finished.
Yes, you can.
At the
I
risk,
so ask it.
Thank you. CEO.
Thank you.
Mr. Delaney, are you able to answer that question?
Through the chair, insofar as, yes, certainly, we've ordered the closure of Rotunda based on safety grounds. There was some failing, elements or effectively, the line feature the top of columns there that were failing, and there was risk of others falling off. There was also significant corrosion that occurred to structural members within the columns themselves. So engaging the heritage architect to provide some advice, subject to where we go with that, VR review allocation to on the representation.
Okay, thank you. So unknown date at this point.
Correct. So just working through the design and I suppose instead of rectification, blue stone steppers that provide some attention as well. Understanding. I haven't allowed to read
Okay. Councillor Group.
Thank you very much. Probably less of a question, although it is a question, because
It is questions without notice.
Yes, it is. Can I suggest that the council maybe at the next publication of Prospect Magazine, maybe just have a little article in there to let people know what's going on? Could I ask if that is possible?
CEO.
That's a question.
I'll have to take that on notice simply because my director of strategy, community culture, and my managed communication strategy engagement are both overseas at the minute. So I will take that on notice.
Yeah.
Or perhaps something actually on the rotunda would be helpful too, because
Says that.
laminated A3 something or other would be good. Yeah. Any further questions?
No.
Any further questions from anybody without notice? Councillor Rick.
Thank you to the Director for City Works in the presentation for following up Mr. Eddie Waters' issue with overhanging palm trees for the service station which no longer exists on North East Road. Can I just seek an update to where that one's sitting, and also, I guess, have you heard from the owner of that site what's planned? Because I've had a few residents complain to me just the way that's area is just being left, and I've seen on site where people live there as well. So I've had a few phone complaints about what people have seen on that site.
Yeah, perhaps we could just broaden that, see if we can. We have two service station sites, I think, now that have been abandoned. One on Main North Road near our old depot, and that one.
Yeah.
I think owned by the same company, Ampol, I think.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm disappointed the way the site's.
CEO, what have we done or what can we do? I guess is the question.
Those are questions I'm going to have to take on notice. I'm just not familiar with the details, but I'll, if I can take them on notice, I'll come back to members as soon as I can.
That'd be good. And just to note, service station sites can sit sit empty for years while they work out the decontamination process. So I think there's graffiti on the Maymouth Road one from them, which is some of it's not great. No, graffiti is great, but it's a sort of bit provocative. Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions about notes? Okay, we'll close that session then and move on to item 10, reports for decision. Item 10.1 is a draft annual financial statements for the year ending 30th of June 2022 council certificate. The recommendations on page 4. So be happy to move it in its current form. Councillor Barnett, wish to speak to it?
Just to say that, in the, under discussion and the third paragraph, I think it's quite pleasant, the auditors have indicated that, they'll be presenting to council an unqualified audit opinion on both the end of the year financial statements and the internal audit. Yeah, I just think, given a lot of the public noise out there, you know, about council's debt and so-called and all the rest of it, I think we should just direct any of those questions to
For your resolution to mean that CEO and I can sign these accounts, but it is a nice snapshot of the year. And on page 22, I was drawn to the user charges, and you might want to turn your minds to page 22 and have a look. Of the user charges, the largest amount is now the lease on this building, 122 grand. And that will grow if we can get the basement leased. So we've gone from having very limited user charges in this council, you know, no caravan park, no swimming pool, no lease of anything. We've gone to our leasing of this building and the way that it was designed and funded to give us our biggest earner. And I thank the elected members who are involved in that, both here and previous. And I think it was worth spending the extra money because the extra money will be paid off. I think we worked out within 8 years, and then this building will last 50. So there'll be 42 years of that income coming into the ratepayers at Prospect. I think it was a very, very sensible investment on behalf of them. Other people might call it excessive spending, but I think it's just very clever. I look on page 25 and notice that the salaries and wages expense was lower by about $300,000 in the last year for various things. But, you know, just to point out that this budget hasn't grown as people normally expect, but actually went down. And I think that the big turnaround, which we're all aware of, is on page 26, which is the net gain or loss on the disposal or revaluation of assets. And you know, it's a loss on the operating result of 1.1 million, a huge turnaround from the year before. And we all know that's what really knocked around our accounts last year and made this budget incredibly challenging. And you know, it shows up as one of the major movements in these accounts, and it's very difficult to explain that to ratepayers. Their eyes will glaze over. And we had ours prized open because of the impact it had on our rate rise. But it's a very, very important thing to note in the report. And page 33 is the borrowings position, and I'm grateful for staff using really good treasury management. And the borrowings position is lower this year than last year, and I think that's a credit to them and to elected members' restraint, knowing that the projects that we're supposed to be funding are running a little late, so that's sort of helped in that way. But the borrowings have not increased in the last year, despite you know, comments by others in other places. So these statements are quite handy in summing up what's been happening in reality. They're audited, they're not hearsay. So I thought it'd be worth pointing those things out that third parties had a look at, and that's how they agree the accounts stand as a true and accurate record. Thank you. Any further debate Councillor Barnett, did you see need to sum up?
No, I think just recommending that people look at those pages you said, and also particularly the sort of graphs on page 44 and 45. They tell the story as well, and our other indicators, and that will be in 2 years' time. We'll be in a much better financial situation, I think, as far as bonds.
Yeah.
So, yes,
You know, he means.
The operating budget.
operating budget, sorry. I should have written it down. And so I commend this to all.
Thank you. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously. Thank you. And we will subsequently sign those. Item 10.2, first budget review, 2022-2023, with recommendations on page 58. Somebody happy to move in its current form? Councillor Ripp.
Move that way. Obviously, I myself had to read this about 5 or 10 times just to see, are we actually further behind or in front? Because this is the way things went. I know it's technical terms, but I did have to read it a few times. Obviously, to see with $597,000 worse off is the way I'm reading it. Disappointing, but you know, it's just one of those things too with the depreciation. Plus, I think in future budgets is also going to be evident of just the environment we're in with inflation, rising costs, and we'll probably find with projects we see that trickling through as well. So it's just something to be mindful of, that we're going to have to be very, very careful in, I guess, in future years what the things to take on as well, just while we're riding this high inflation environment. I'll move it to get on the table, but obviously it is disappointing to see that net deficit position increase.
Yeah, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Barnett.
Yes,
to speak to it.
and I mean, you can read in our everyday media, not only in our report, but of all the difficulties partly stemming really from COVID situation. We're in the high inflation, which is hitting, countries all around the world. And also our supply and demand chains. You can go into basically any shop town, we're still in problems there, and we're not alone in local government and councils with all those things that are happening in the world of the economics. So, but as I say, there's always a bust and a boom, and a bull and a bear market. So it's cyclic.
In wise words, councillor. Any further debate? Councillor De Backer.
Yeah, looks briefly again, it's always been disappointment when things are running behind, but again, I appreciate it's hard to get the people to do the work at the moment in this current climate. And I think there's another report coming up that refers to the number of council resolutions over the term. We've done a lot with it. We've done a lot. So I think, we're pretty aspirational. I think we've tried to do a lot of things, and we've been cutting budgets as we go. So I think sometimes with this overrun, the next council will have to look at, what they want to prioritise, and what they'll be able to do. That's just to be before the time. Again, thanks for you for explaining the report. It's really good to get a snapshot of what those future looks like.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate? Right, councillor Ripp, wish to sum up? That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.3. The LGA AGM voting preferences is coming up Friday. Recommendations on page 83. So I'm happy to move it in its current form. Oh, sorry, there's been a slight revision. Is it your arm up waving to me, or just checking? Sorry. Should have more sympathy, shouldn't I, really?
Yes.
Empathy, yeah, sorry. You have some pills or something? Share them around.
Kindness, maybe.
Fine. And just take out the bit that's put the line through it. Leave it in. Sorry, they'll take the line off it. So just adding the words in voting in accordance with the preferences, they're the additional words with a comma rather than a full stop. Just to make it really clear, it is as per previous years in terms of the intent. Might be better read of those, and if any questions, ask them. There's something having moved as what's on the screen. Get it going. Okay, thank you, Councillor Group. Wish to speak to it.
I've noticed over the last couple of years, there are fewer and fewer motions going to the LGA annual meetings. I think it's partly because there's a vetting process now that
Yes.
between whacking in wonderful ideas and getting to a vote, which is good. I think it's just worth noting that a lot of these in here are from country councils rather than necessarily metropolitan councils. Now, I'm not sure if there's a reason for that, apart from that's just who put them up and that's what got through. I presume that's all it is. But it's really good to see that representation, over-representation back from rural councils. But probably a good reminder for the future council around this table to think about what we can put up and what we can champion. I know we've championed joint voting a number of times. I'd love to see this council try and do that again, or the new council rather, to take that one on again, because I think it is important. And if we look at the daily returns for the voting, it's very low. Would point out that Central Ward has the highest percentage, but it'd be remiss of me not to mention that. But it would be great to see electronic voting in local government to see if that actually increases voter participation in that process. So I'd encourage whoever's around this table in a month's time to consider that for a future LGA meeting. Other than that, I am in agreement with the voting preference, and I wish the Mayor good luck at his last LGA meeting.
Thank you. I'm excited. Is there a seconder? All right, Councillor Nguyen, just to speak to it.
No, thanks.
Any further debates? If not, Councillor Group, would you wish to sum up your excellent speech?
Well, I was just wondering, since it is your last LGA meeting, do they carry you out on the shoulder? Is that how it works?
You can't raise new matters or ask questions and you're summing up.
In which case, I reserve my right to speak. I know you like that one. It's your last meeting. You have a bit
You
of
can't reserve it, it's not allowed. Do you have anything to
That's
say
what
summing
reserved.
up? Yeah, no,
No.
right, move on. We'll conclude the debate, all those in favour. Approve unanimously. They do have a session with 3 retiring mayors. They're going to have on the couch.
They're wide shoulders.
And no shoulders.
The cat's up, what's-
Never got the flags in front of my car when I was president, so all I'm going to get is a soft cushion on the couch. That's it, mate. That's it. General business, so an urgent nature. I'll be very surprised. No, good for me. Okay, reports for information. The protocol is we'll do them on block unless they're withdrawn. I'll withdraw item 12.1. If anybody wishes to withdraw item 12.2, the Strategic Planning and Development Policies Committee minutes. Councillor De Backer. Does anybody wish to withdraw the CEO Performance Development Review Committee minutes? No. Item 12.4, the Audit Committee minutes from the 17th of October. No. The Section 270 Reviews Annual Report. Mr. Backer. The 12.6, there's Council Resolution Status Report, January 20th, Councillor Barnett. 12.7, Electricity Tender. 12.8, the Ovingham Level Crossing Removal and Ovingham Station Upgrade Update, Councillor Backer. Okay. So, somebody wish to move on block items, we've got 12.3, 12.4 and 12.7.
Move that way.
Thank you. There's no debate on that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pearce, I saw first. Thank you. There's no debate. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 12.1, the Merrill Monthly Activity Report is there before you, but I thought it probably just worth addressing the extra page I gave you. I think it's just probably worth being on the eternal record. Some thanks, and I do want to reiterate my thanks for the elected membership, not just this council, which I think has been an excellent example of local governance in terms of people coming from quite diverse backgrounds. I don't think any of you have the same life experience as each other. I don't think you're like each other. You do like each other, but you're not like each other in a profile either. And I don't think any of us are best of buddies. You know, we have a big birthday. We're not inviting each other, so I don't see that this is a clique. What I see it as is a really respectful bunch of people who genuinely come here to represent their community, and I have the highest of respect for your ability to do that and do it in a collegiate way, but a respectful way. I've seen a lot of debate around this table over the last 4 years that people haven't necessarily agreed with each other, but the discussion has led to a consensus on almost everything we've done. And that consensus has usually been shaped, it's been changed and shaped by that discussion, where people have learned from each other. And I've learned a lot. And I've learned a lot over 16 years, but I think this council has been exceptional. I think the last council as well was in the same vein, exceptional in the sense of having quite a diverse bunch of people who again respected each other's opinion and brought different views and were quite prepared to have the debate. And so the last two councils I've enjoyed immensely because I think it's been a very productive place in terms of how the elected members have dealt with the issues. I'm not so confident I can say that about the other councils I've been involved in, but they have all played a role. And those of you who've been around here a long time will know the councils that gave rise to the decisions in 2010 to pick up the upgrades on Churchill Road and Prospect Road and Prospect Oval. Were really brave, those elected members. And, but those changes were fundamental to bring us about where we are now. So I thought I'd just address those things briefly and just say how grateful I am to have served with you and to serve with the great staff we have. And there's been a lot of changes here, but there's been a number of staff over all of my time here that I've enjoyed working with as well. And of course, we know get things done with their assistance. So I won't overuse my rights. In fact, I've just given myself a right that doesn't exist to speak to an item before it being on the floor, but and no one corrected me, so I carried on. And finally, yeah, point of order is, what section of the Act? 128. Overall, that's about mopping the floor. And finally, just to reiterate that you can't do this on your own very easily. And I've had the support of my wife Alison, who's in the gallery tonight, which I've enjoyed very much over the years. I think I counted up. You would have heard me say at the 150th dinner that. Together we've been involved in I think 20 election campaigns, some of them a lot of work and some of them not, but I've been involved in a lot of elected positions over the years and Alison's been there supporting me all the way along, sometimes yelling at me not to, but whenever we decide we will, she's been an absolute rock in the campaign and since that time. But you have endured a lot, honey, over the years. It's not been all straightforward, but I'm very, very grateful for your support over the time, and I think the city should be grateful for that support as well. So thank you. And now I ask humbly for someone to move the report in its current form. Councillor Rick, disrespectful.
Move that, and I would like to speak to it to thank you for the service you've given the City of Prospect, Mayor, but not only the service you've given for your friendship and advice. And one of the, I won't harp on too long, but one of the ways where I think you've been greatest strength to me is our one-on-one meetings, where you're prepared to listen to ideas before, you're prepared to hear what people have to say, and you're prepared to work with people to try and get things done and give advice where it's needed and try and shape ideas that come to council. And I've really valued our one-on-one meetings and the way you've really taken an idea and really worked with me to deliver for this. I've also been equally impressed with the way you and the Deputy Mayor have worked together and the leadership you've shown the people in the East to really take on board some of the feedback I had when I stood, that some of the East felt that, you know, they weren't getting some of that love. You took that on board, you came on board and we've delivered so much, I think, in the East in the last 4 years. I look at the Broadview Hub, we've progressed well and it's going to go ahead and I'm really excited about that. We look at the traffic management changes that you've helped shape as well at Collingwood. I mean, we nearly had a driver die in a car accident there where literally a car rolled over and landed back on its wheels. If that car had landed the other way around, it probably the driver would have been killed. So you've taken on board all those issues and look what we're able to achieve there. Also with the Collingwood Shopping Centre, I'd like to see obviously more of that upgrade of that precinct, but you know, we've kickstarted it and now it's up to future councils if they want to invest more to see that continue, they do so. But I really valued the way you really advocated with me for the East. I've really felt that you've been in the last 4 years, I've been here, a champion for the East, and you've been prepared to work hard, take on board people's feedback, and I've really valued your friendship and hope value your friendship well into the future. So thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. And that's 5 minutes. Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Do I have a second? Councillor Pearce.
I'll just be to some, look,
Yes.
I'll be quick because I think everyone will want to say words, and it's pretty hard to really to acknowledge what a great job you've done over many years. It's an outstanding effort, I think, and also obviously to Alison, and I hope Alison's health it comes good. But you've just been a fantastic leader, very personable, approachable. And I agree with what Stephen Rip said, the one-on-one meetings are great, they're casual, we talk about all sorts of things, but you've got to be a very hard person to replace, there's no doubt about that. I won't talk about the nominations for the mayor, that'll be probably out of order at the moment, but I wish you well with the future, and Alison, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great catching up. I think we held SNS's cafe a lot,
Yes,
Propped it up for a while.
yes, probably we did.
Any further speakers? Councillor Green.
Look, before I say some nice things about you, maybe some not so nice things, I'm just wondering, will we have an opportunity tonight, Mayor, just for our own reflections? I'm just not sure in the agenda where we might have those, but
As a councillor,
yeah.
probably best under member reports. There is
Okay,
a
we'll do
section
that.
there.
Okay. So I'll leave the other bits to them, but I did want to say thank you to you, because if it wasn't for David, I wouldn't have put my hand up for council. In fact, David made a decision about wards, which I didn't like, and I was trying to work out what am I going to do about it. I thought, well, the best way to kind of try and solve it is get in there and do it myself, and that's what I did. And David, despite our disagreement on that particular issue, certainly encouraged me to do that. And so I just want to say absolutely thank you to you for that. And I think, as Councillor Rip said, the one-on-ones I found incredibly good professionally and personally that I've had with you, and you've been able to provide great advice on a whole lot of things, not just council. And I appreciate that. And again, we certainly kept a cafe going for a little while there as well. So I really appreciate your time and your unencumbered time that you would provide for that, even when you were late occasionally. And I was late occasionally, so it was good. I also had the great privilege of spending 5 years as David's deputy mayor, 5 consecutive years, which I point out is longer than the current deputy mayor, even though he claimed 5 years at our 150 dinner anniversary. I did remind him he was only in there before. But 5 years, that's right, 5 years. I think the longest consecutive time for deputy mayor. But it was an amazing opportunity because David was doing a lot of national work, the mayor was doing a lot of national work at the time, and it was a great opportunity for me to see what Little Old Prospect was doing on a national stage as well. We also had a state election in the midst of that, and I really appreciated those opportunities to work with you in a slightly different capacity as well. So thank you for your leadership, and also thank you to Alison for giving up a lot of her time for you. And I know all of us have partners and families and people that support us in council, perhaps not quite as well. Christine a little bit longer, and Alan as well, but a long period of time to support you. So I think it's really worth acknowledging Alison's role in that as well. And thank you for that. And I look forward to, hopefully, as your local ward councillor, that you'll talk to me about gutters and footpaths and all sorts of things. I can't wait. But thank you very much for what you've done, and thank you on behalf of the City of Prospect as well.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot to thank you for.
Thank you for 5 years as deputy. I almost certainly the record, and you were a rock. You really were. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think it is a record. Let's just say it is.
I think
It's in my brochure. It's got to be. It's not, by the way. It's not.
Any further debate? Councillor Barnett.
Oh, not debate, of course, but just acknowledging, that the comments you were making before about us being a team, a good team, and we've had the privilege of having people who have been paired to work, together as a team. And I think it's the only way that, we can make a difference in our world of our city and for our people, and also thank you, you took up the leadership role, not just of our city, but I think as you grew into loving that leadership role, you became, I think, a very good, excellent leader in local government, state and nationally. So I think that we've had that reflect glory of having that brush on us as well. Yeah, I think it's if we can just keep having that collegiate approach, and I think we'll do our city proud and ourselves, as individuals as well. Yeah, so we can say I've, seen people come and go, and what comes to mind, it might sound silly, but in to paraphrase for the Sesame Street, not easy being green, but, it's not easy being a small city. So, I think we can, hold our heads up high and, thank you for keeping on leading for us and believing. Also, it's about having a lot of, a good leader also has good followers and vice versa. So I think it's the end of an era, one which I did not see coming. Like the mic drop and going, anyway.
Nor me, but
Yes, and it's true with Alison and your family, because although, it is, you do need to have that support and, you can come home and things, you might feel a bit teary about some things, whether it's joy or not. You've got somebody else there that is a bit slightly removed from it, but can also perhaps give you counsel as well. So, once again, thank you very much.
my pleasure. You did right. Get home and say, put the bins out. That's very grounding. Very grounding. Very kind words. Thank you, Christine. Councillor.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank you personally, David, for your guidance, friendship. I was really impressed when I first met you. We were meeting down at our local cafe and you were waving and saying hello to every Tom, Dick and Harry, first name, the owners. And I was like, oh my God, this man knows everybody. It's everybody around here. And it was really, to me at that time, it was, this man really knows the people in his city and he really wants to do good for his city. So I really admire that. Thank you for bringing humour into this council, this chamber, because it makes a huge difference and it's so light and, everybody has a good laugh here and there, unlike other councils, chambers. So thank you for that. Want to thank Alison as well for giving up husband time. I don't know what you'll do now that you've got him back in the years to come. So, but, I just want to thank you for the one-on-ones, not only, we're talking about, council issues, but also on a personal level as well. So thank you very much, David.
It's my pleasure. And sorry, I said hi to so many people there. First meeting, terrible. Okay, thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Back.
I won't repeat what everyone else has said, David. But look, I think probably, again, the one-on-one meetings, that I don't, it's nice to be nice, but one of the great things about David is giving me some no nonsense advice. And I think turn some of my, early on as a naive councillor, some of my frustrations in, and he basically said, if you don't have a motion, you don't have a budget, nothing. And so I took that on notice to heart, and I've worked really hard, especially my second term, to make sure I've worked behind the scenes with the staff, what's possible, what's not. Is it doable? Going to work members, and I've found much more enable. So thank you very much for making me feel effective, and for my fellow councillors for being a great.
Thank you. It's overwhelmed. I have taken great pride in trying to be as good a mayor as a mayor can be. There's no kind of script about how to do that. So I've just sort of thought about, well, what would I like a mayor to do? I hope I've been that as best I can. And I really enjoyed our catch-ups. And this is a very formal setting and our workshops are very task-oriented. But I worked out long ago that if I wanted to lead the best council, we needed to have, as Christina said, the best everybody. And I didn't know how to do that unless I knew what you wanted to do. So the one-on-one side, a very simple agenda, and we just turn up and listen to what you wanted to do and help you do it. I never came with a sheet of paper. I never came with a list of things to talk to you about. I always want to know what you wanted to do. And I've long held that, no council can be successful just with one person. I wanted the best of 9 ideas, the best of 9 people, the best of 9 people's passion. And thank you for your comments about those meetings. They've meant a lot to me. I've really enjoyed them. I've really enjoyed them. And I hope you're, more effective in what you're doing, not just here but elsewhere, because of the time we spent with each other. I certainly am. It certainly taught me a lot. So thank you for that. I can't say enough about the staff. Chris, it's great to have you on board here. I think I speak on behalf of everybody that we love what you've done. I think the new team you put in place is incredibly exciting. I've not seen anything like that before. I think it was really needed, and I think you've got in people who are really enthusiastic and itching to get on with doing some great things. And I think the city's up for it. And I don't think you're looking for physical things so much anymore than we were at one point. We're looking for all sorts of outcomes, and I think your inspiration to have a community development portfolio again is a really, really good one, and I think that's going to pay good dividends going forward. So thank you, and thank all the staff that are here, and if you could pass on my thanks to everybody, I'm incredibly grateful to them for everything they've done. There's no other detail in my report to deal with, and I thank you again humbly for supporting me. I think Christina pointed out previous councillors have supported me into the role of being on the board of the LGA, and in turn being a president of the state LGA, and that's in the national board, and they supported me with your support to be the national president, and it was an absolute honour and privilege to do that around the cabinet table as part of COAG, and I outlasted one prime minister, served with two, and I often like to reflect that with the state premiers and first ministers in the room, that there are only two people in the room that represented the entire country. That was me and the Prime Minister. No one else saw it like that, but I said it to a few of them, and they kind of rolled their eyes a bit. But it was actually true, because the ALGA really does try and represent 537 councils in their communities across the nation, and it's often misunderstood. But yeah, that's an amazing privilege. So thank you for that, as well as thank you for serving this council in your time. For those of you going for re-election here, can I just conclude by saying all the best with your campaigns. I think you're tremendous people, and I think you really should get back in, but that's of course up to the voters. So all the best with your campaigns, and certainly Councillor with your campaign. Town of Walkerville, it's sad to lose you today. Hopefully we'll gain from your input there. Thank you for that. Now, Councillor Ripp, do you wish to sum up?
Well, it's dangerous giving me the nice word. No, I also just like to echo the kind words for the wonderful partner. Thank you for what you've done for David as well. I know he appreciates it and talks about it all the time. But he really value the work you've done, and sincerely hope you'll help as well, mate. Coming up. And yeah, and just again, thank you, and please do keep in touch in the long term as well.
Absolutely, thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank goodness for that. No, global audience, note that. Only round of applause they've ever given me, and it was short, so anyway.
There's two watching. Oh, I'm one of them, actually, there's one.
Well, hello to you, you're very welcome.
The other one's my manager.
The other ones, could you not tell me that there's no one watching? But thank you anyway.
It will be recorded forever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. For those of you watching this on replay, why? Anyway, item 12.2, strategic planning. No, where are we at? Lost my place.
Yes.
12.2 is withdrawn by Councillor Tobacco, Strategic Planning and Development Policies Committee minutes, as per our the way we do things around here. Do you wish to move it as it is?
Yes, I will.
Okay, far away.
Yeah, look, motion in a different way, but certainly this is this sort of bread and butter stuff to do with the strategic planning and development policies committee meeting, and this is really where, again, the mayor over the years has, supported us as councillors in that committee to try and get through the weeds of planning policy and try and push back where the state is maybe bitten off a bit too much. So you'll see at the last committee meeting, we asked the staff to go away and actually put in some visuals for the benefit of the community, because these technical consultations are quite intimidating, and they're not understood genuinely by the wider community or even within the chamber. So some of these small changes that are made can have a huge impact in our community. So as I think page 100, 101, 101, 103 indicate, this is to do with setbacks, overlooking, landscaping, and zoning. So I know in the staff, in the background, the staff are sort of talking to the state to try and get better outcomes, but it's really important for us to stay on this. So maybe a question through the chair, this committee will continue in that into the next term.
CEO.
Well, through you, Mayor Lachlan, it really matters for the council, but the terms of reference are established and yeah, that we fully intend in the first meeting of the new council to put before them the question of membership of all the new committees, and unless the council's minded to change direction, we expect this committee to continue.
So look, I've found it a very useful instrument in trying to inform in great detail some of these technical points from the planning and design code, but also to bring it back to council and to community in a way that's digestible as well. So I encourage you to support what's before you, and again, just highlighting what's a really important community and that continues into the future.
Thank you. Well said. Seconded. Councillor Bunning.
Yes, I certainly concur with the councillor at the back. I thought perhaps first when we came back to whether we were going to have this committee again, and I think we think that you know, it's so worthwhile to continue. It deals with a lot of things that are very technical and dry and all the rest of it, but I think through staff and elected members that have been on that, we've kept on being very consistent with saying about how do we make this more understandable, more digestible, you know, and I do thank the staff that we've had, you know, over the years that we've had this committee. They've been fantastic in, you know, trying to assist us, you know, basically a lot of us are lay people, you know, so I thought, well, heaven help the general person of the public, because how the hell are they going to understand this if we're, you know, sort of struggling? So I think it's very important that we do try and have a committee like this in this particular thought area, because you know, all the things that we do with, like, you know, the overlooking, all the things that when it actually happens, you know, it's not quite often a very good outcome for a lot of our residents that are so closely involved to the outcomes of a lot of these decisions, you know, and also that we keep on being, you know, at the heels of the various state governments, you know, because it's up to us. We're here, you know, we take our little phrase, but I believe in it, closest to the people, we're closest to all the complaints that come about this in real life, as compared with what happens, say, in the upper echelons and state government planners and heritage people and all the rest of it. So it's up to us to paint that picture on behalf of our community.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor De Backer, just to sum up.
Thank you.
That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously. Good work being done there. Okay, next item, we've drawn 4.5, section 270 reviews, annual report. Councillor De Backer, just to move it in its current form.
Yes, I do.
Far away.
Yeah, look, this was quite an interesting read, just in regards to our internal review process. It basically looks at the process for people to challenge a decision of council or council delegated person, but noting that there are some changes in regards to the time limit. I believe is 6 months. So probably just a query through there, just in regards to things that aren't covered by other legislation. If a decision was made by council more than 6 months ago and the external person couldn't challenge it, is that the case?
So yeah,
That is my understanding. So
Certainly, Chair,
complainant can make a complaint, it will be assessed on a case by case basis. The 6 month time frame has been given by the ombudsman, and it has been a change that has been incorporated in the legislation
As a maximum.
as a maximum.
Okay, thank you, councillor.
And just another question, through the chair, just in regards to, is this for external people? So this wouldn't be for a council to make a decision motion? No, it's only for external parties.
Good to see you.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lachlan, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. We'll have a seconder.
I'll second
Councillor
that.
Rich.
Only thing I just have a quick question. What was the, before that's changed by the, what was the timeframe? Was it just open-ended before that?
See ya. Ms. Orton.
Through the chair was open.
Okay, well, probably putting a timeframe in, it's not actually that long. No, it's interesting.
Any further, councillor? Any further debate? Just for me to note, it's nil from nil. There weren't any. And we didn't have to work on any from last year. So that's a great testament to the decision making, but also to the staff and the way that the reports came to us, that even if people disagree with what we did, the information was in the report is generally what that tends to indicate. So thank you to the staff and elected members for that. If there's no further debate, councillor Backer, if you wish to sum up at all? No, that concludes the debate. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next item was 12.6, the council resolution status report, January 2020 to September 22, inclusive. Councillor Barnett.
Right, yes, I withdrew this, I think it's, actually fabulous to have this and to have this, I just love the sound of this, the software input council, wow.
So I'm just concluding that you are moving it.
Oh, I'm moving
Yeah,
it,
correct,
yes,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm, you know, just a bit too enthusiastic about us actually having something like
Yes.
this. Wow, some automation or whatever that actually works for us, I think, in reading this. So it was mainly to commend the motion to it, but also just the status of this. So, well, two questions. So, will this be on the council website as a public document? And then my second part is, if not, will it be on, say, the elected member portal?
See ya.
So through you, Mayor Lachlan, it already is on the website as a portion of the agenda. It's something that we would aim to publish at least on an annual basis to keep members up to date with what's happening. There is a heck of a lot of work in pulling this together, members, and it's something that we do maintain on an active, ongoing basis. But of course, before we put it in front of you, we flush through it and make sure we impeach the content carefully and that it's accurate. And that's something that on an annual reporting basis I'm comfortable to do, but members are minded to ask us to do it more often than that. It will require some additional administrative time. Again, though, we're in the chain of sense in that regard. If you would like to see it more often, we'll do our best, but it is a bit of a lot of work.
Yeah. Councillor Barnett, anything further?
No.
Okay, we get to have a second. So, group, to speak to it.
Yes, so just echo the comments of Councillor Barnett. I think it's fantastic. Small question. What were we doing before we had this?
See ya.
So through you, Mayor Lachlan, we maintained a spreadsheet and we reviewed it. We were supposed to review it quarterly in terms of updating actions. Didn't always happen. And members would be aware that from time to time that reporting came to you, from time to time it didn't. Again, this new software system has enabled us to pull out all the resolutions from this term, enter them all into the system. I really need to take this opportunity to commend the team leader governance and staff supporting her, and also my executive and management team, because there was a lot of work in pulling that information out of the old spreadsheets, entering them into the system, and then creating the workflows that tag staff into reminding them that there is a job to do in relation to these resolutions. There were some hundreds of resolutions passed during this term of council that required action. That's ignoring the ones that needed, were for information only or for noting. And obviously that in addition to all your business as usual work, it's quite an administrative task to manage all of that. This software makes it much easier, but to actually activate it and get it going is a credit to the team. So now we have this tool, it will make it much easier to track these things.
Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely commend the report, commend the piece of software. I think it's great if we can get this, or the future council might make a decision to get it on a slightly more regular basis than a year ago. I think that would be useful. I'm aware there's probably a couple of resolutions from at the very tail end of the previous council that might still be being worked on and haven't been captured through this. But if I'm here in late November, I'll raise that again. But this is fantastic and well done to Simon as well.
Thank you. Any further debate? Again, just for me, I'm delighted. This is the cleanest end of term report I've seen. So credit to you, Chris, not just in getting it done, but making sure that things are dealt with diligently. And in fact, when I had a look at it, the draft of it, you know, there's a comment there about me doing that. And I said to the staff, you've been too hard on yourself. These things have actually been actioned. They're now part of policy, or they're part of some procedure. The fact that the outcome hasn't occurred yet is not what the recommendation was. It said to put it in the procedure, and it's done. So we took a few more out that have been ticked off. And I can't tell you how pleased I am to get to the end of the term and see that there's so little left. When you look at what's in there, some of them are hard because they're tied up in the Ovingham overpass or in a development project that hasn't, you know, got off the ground yet. Some of them are very recent. They're from the last council meeting, so you can hardly expect them to be closed out. But there's very little that you look at saying, well, that's over time. Notwithstanding, council group still talking about the local area traffic management plan from 1967, still hasn't been done, but he will remind you about that in due course. But I just recall when I started in the mayoral role in 2006, I sat down with the then CEO and rolled out I think I had 6 pages of stuff that had been raised while I've been door knocking, because we didn't have a complaint system registered then, and if we did, as an outsider, I didn't know what it was. Well, sorry, as a mayor, I should have, but I don't think we really had a good one. So his eyes rolled and said, just give me the list. I'll put them all in. And the next meeting I had with him, I said, now let's have a look at the resolutions register. And he sort of got a bit wide-eyed. I said, well, that's our job, isn't it? As the mayor and the CEO, like the council's decided to do something. We need to make sure that it's done. And the system was really poor. It was a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet survived for many years because there wasn't a better system. But it took a great deal of discipline to take a new approach to say these things have got to be closed out in a regular way that is monitored and transparent. And I think we're now very close to that with this report. But as far as the public's concerned, if we make a decision, they just expect this stuff just goes into the machinery. They don't understand why it goes into a dislocated spreadsheet that someone's got to remember to have a look at and monitor. It doesn't make any sense to them. So I'm grateful for the new approach here. I'm grateful for the attitude. That's really the biggest difference. The software is secondary. So thank you, CEO, for that. And I'm delighted to commend this to you, elected members, at the end of our term to note our progress. Any further debate? That concludes. Sorry, Councillor Barnett, could you wish to sum up?
No, thanks.
Okay, that concludes debate. All those in favour?
Too bad, buddy.
Adopted unanimously. Thank you. Now, do we have anything else? Item 12.8, the Ovingham level crossing removal and Ovingham station upgrade update. Councillor De Backer, if you wish to move it in its current form.
Thank
you. Fire away.
So yeah, thank you for take this one out. I think it's probably one of the biggest, quietest projects sort of going on in the background, but it's transformative. And one of the great things that's happened is that we've got a new CEO on board, and we also got a new director of community on board at the time that this was happening. So we had some workshops with the department, and there's probably some things that hadn't been taken on board. And what I see in this report is community embedded into some of those outcomes for the city of Prospect as well as a neighbouring city. I see that there's connections being made with a neighbouring city, the events. We've identified on page 143 that we're going to have powered sites, which enables food trucks. Fabulous outcome, as well as some, parking and all those kind of things. There's a few palm trees that didn't survive the trip, and we've got some new plantings. But I guess I just wanted to say a big thank you, for kind of, say, rescuing the project, but there was certainly, I think it would have been distorting if we hadn't had that director, the new directors on the book, so thank you very much. Probably just one question through the chair, I'm actually going to, one is about signage and the second is about cycles. So one, I think it mentions about, signage, but I'm just trying to find out if that's it says directional signage and artwork and storytelling on page 146. Is the signage for the benefit of sort of cycles and pedestrians as throughways to places like Park or Find Your Way to Churchill Road, or is it just the precinct signage?
Can you see,
This is one area over the answer that.
Chair, I'll have to put it on notice, but effectively that was in response to the wayfinding.
Yeah.
The precincts, that's why I understood it,
Okay.
but I believe that the community liaison group is assisting in terms of what the extent of signage required.
Because I guess one of the things that we'd like to see is more uptake of actually using the train. So if we, I think one of the greatest things that's happened down Churchill Road is the Dudley Park sign for the train station.
yeah,
So if we can sort of have the same thing for the Yale station, that would be great. The other item, I was scrolling through the report and I couldn't really find anything to do with cycling. Again, it's a shareway down to the Foot Terrace. And I'd really like that to be highlighted and things like bike parking. So I didn't see that. That's maybe just a note for the next report that comes to council. So we've got some enthusiastic cyclists in the city of Prospect, and we had more if we had more places to park our bikes. So yeah, that could be considered.
thank you. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Councillor Barnett.
Okay, you know, this is a great report. It brings it all together. I mean, you know, because you've been ward council, you know, where it's sort of all happening, but and been, you know, a regular on the PTPA website and, you know, all the rest of it. But this really brings it to life, and I think it's really been a bit of a sleeper project in the set. I think here at council and our staff, we've, you know, been appreciative that it is a big project. It's a transformative type project for that area down there, you know. So I'm really hopeful and joyful that how all this has come together. You know, and I think it again, it would be, we've had a few frustrations, you know, but you can't have a huge project like that without a few little frustrations. But I think at the end of it, when you read through this project, and you know, I just hope that you know, my heart actually goes out to our residents down there that have borne the brunt of all the noise and the construction and the, you know, all the rest of it. So you know, I truly hope that they will eventually be able to, as residents and as a community, and we can do some more community things down there and be a proper sort of neighbourhood and all that. But it'll be so worthwhile.
Thank you. Any further debate? And again, just for me, I happened to go down here the last couple of days to have a look because I saw the report and I was quite interested in it. And I do want to commend the staff, particularly Director of Infrastructure, Sam Delena, because I agree with Christina, the early liaison, I don't think was really as good as what it is now, let's put it that way. And I think we missed some opportunities early on because of that. But lately, the director's bound to mop up a whole pile of loose ends. So if you head down there now, you'll see the last section of Devonport Terrace being entirely dug out and reconstructed, entirely. At their expense. Now that's a saving to us, I think, of about 600 grand or something, because that was pretty tricky. If you ever look at the designs in the report, you'll see the number of car parks that are being provided as part of the station land there, and we were going to have to do something there. So this is taking care of it, and the landscaping will be upgraded by the station platform, whereas before it was pretty ordinary. So I think we've had a huge benefit to come out of that latest liaison, and I'm very grateful, CEO, for that liaison. And I know whatever tricks you pull, but keep pulling them. And I also asked the staff to look up the Torrens Road interface going up the hill, because there's been some changes around there we did have some early wins. They lifted the intersection quite significantly to get rid of the Big Dipper approach. And I think the geometry is much better now. They got rid of the big retaining wall in the corner, which was a graffiti target. Now it's not so. And lots of things. But the strip going up Torrens Road has always been a bit of a dead space for our community and a burden for us to maintain. So again, I think the director has done a pretty good deal up there, but it will be coming to the next council to work out what we would do with the bits that weren't upgraded, that weren't touched. And I've asked staff to be creative about that because it's a bit of a, it's nothing really happens here. I mean, if we want to put big trees somewhere, there's another spot you can think about big trees. There's an allotment on Cotton Street, number 1 Cotton Street, that's doing nothing, and we've never done anything with it. I don't think there's a call to do anything with it right there. So whether that would be better as a residential allotment that could bring some interest to that. I mean, you probably get a good design there. I don't know, but I just think we should have a good look at that strip now the bottom's been sorted out and get it right. But I think overall, I agree with Councillor Barnett. The early interactions, particularly with the hotel as well, that the road would continue under the overpass will profoundly change the way people relate to that end of Devonport Terrace. Much better for cyclists, much better for pedestrians, much better for people who want to have that as their local pub because it was quite difficult to get to and fro before. Much safer. And if we do have some events down there that people actually want to go to, well, I'll be wildly excited because it's beyond my expectations, but it's set up for it. I think that they're really good outcomes. So all 3 stations have had some form of upgrade. This one, the largest upgrade. But if you head down there, Dudley Park looks a lot more shipshape. And Islington's had quite a significant upgrade as well. So I think on the whole, we've done pretty well. And that lobbying has been the work of, I think it's probably 14 years lobbying, really. To get this precinct reconsidered as an important part of the urban fabric of Adelaide, not just what we wanted, but make the stations attractive and encourage public transport and all those other things. So the next piece of the jigsaw puzzle is Renewal SA site right next to Islington Station, but at least now the station actually looks safe, it's well lit, and I won't say attractive because it's still just a train station, but before it was a bit of a liability. So I think in association with the project, I think we've had some really good outcomes. So I look forward to the southern end of Devonport Terrace being reopened and looking fabulous at state government's expense. So I'm wildly excited about that. So thank you again. Any further debate on this one? If not, Councillor Back, just to sum up.
Just briefly to say thanks for all your input and ideas to help shape the project over the period. And I think this shows how you can yet to see it in practice yet, that taking a placemaking approach instead of just a civic project, just to be a bridge. So I think it's been a really interesting project.
Excellent. Close debate. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Okay. Council member reports and briefings. Are there any? I think Councillor Good indicated before, but I particularly note that it's the end of everything here for Councillor Rippon. Councillor Harris, it's a pity we can't be here. So if you wish to make an address, now would be a good time.
I'm happy to start.
Councillor Good.
I'm hoping I'm not the only one. No, look, I just think all of us are sitting here tonight wondering whether we'll be back again, and probably what happens every 4 years in council. But it made me just think through my 12 years on council, and I've had 3 terms, and not just similar to the mayor's comments earlier, the last 2 councils have been fantastic. The first one maybe less so, but it's for reasons that for Councillor Barnett and I are the only 2, and the mayor would understand. But I was just thinking through, as you do, what do you achieve on council, and what have we all been able to try and I guess influence, and for me, this building I think is a fantastic monument to not the council but to the city of Prospect and its facilities. And I know that when we first started looting the building, there was lots of angst about it, and I don't hear anything but positive comments now. And the fact that we've called it Bay Empty, sorry, Councillor Pearce, not Prospect 128. I think it's a really great outcome. Really great outcome.
That was a consultant we paid 40,000.
That's right. But I think that's been fantastic. We've got Indigenous street names. We've got the 40-kilometre hour zone across the whole city of Prospect. I've been really proud to play a little bit of a role in that. It took me probably 3 years to get a $2,500 cloth nappy trial. in the council. It taught me, though, that you can't do things, and if there's any candidates watching, you can't make wild outlandish promises to say you're going to do things. You don't have the support of the council around you. And I learned that the hard way with my nappy trial. It was $2,500. I had to work really, really hard for it, but I got there in the end. But I only got there because I worked with the people around me, not getting them. And I think that's a really important thing. I'm also very proud to be a part of a council that's actually done something. We've talked about it and we've kind of nutted down and got it done. And I'm just really, really proud of us as a council and the previous councils as well to do that. I just want to say a couple of thanks because I don't know if I'm going to be here in 4 weeks' time. If I'm not, this will be the only time I have the opportunity to do that. I just want to thank the CEOs that have come and been and gone, Goldstone, Hart, McBride, and of course White now, which is fantastic to have you here, Chris, and I think will be fantastic for the new council. The directors as well, past and present. I particularly want to mention Jimmy, who's been my long stay here since I've been here and has provided lots of great advice to me, including trying to describe how depreciation actually appears on a budget and where it actually goes. And it's still a bit of a dark heart for me, but thank you, Jimmy. And also I want to mention Deb Richardson, who was the previous director here, who was fantastic. Deb was just an amazing bundle of energy for our council and provided me lots of great support as well. Staff, the staff have been great. Even Peter Smith, when he smiles and gives me a parking ticket, he does it with a smile, and I think that's fantastic. So the staff, I've been very accommodating and very happy to help. I just want to mention the retiring councillors, Rip and Harris. Good luck. Where you're hopefully going, and I hope you are very successful, Stephen. When you came, I sort of thought, who's this guy coming from the council? But you've been amazing, so thank you for what you've done. I want to mention the current bunch. I think it's fantastic. It's a really, really good council. I've learned to eat nuts with a spoon. I've never seen it done before, Councillor Rip, but you've managed to do it. Has anyone else? I've heard everyone's seen that. You've never eaten nuts with a spoon. I have learned a lot. Well, there's been more than one conversation about it. He eating nuts with a spoon, but he does. And you know, that's right. And look, I didn't come here to make friends, but I'm really grateful. I just want to mention Councillor Harris, who has really become an uncle to my kids. And he was there, when they were born, and I've got lots of photos of Alan as they've been growing up in one in each arm. And I'm really disappointed Councillor Harris is in this, but want to acknowledge his 57 years or whatever it is on council. He's been here a long time as well. And Councillor Harris, if you're watching, you might be one of the 2 or 3 maybe now. Thank you for what you've done. I want to mention the mayor, but we've already done that. I really do hope I find myself back here in a month's time. If not, thank you to the people of Central Ward who've kept me here for 12 years. It's been an absolute blast. I've probably taken more than I've given in this role. I've learned a lot. I've learned how to get along with people, how to negotiate with people. In my professional life, council training has been the best, so I'm really supportive of that. Big thanks to my wife. I'm not sure I'm being emotional at this, but to Lisa, and also my 2 children. I was here at Council meeting the day before they were born, and they've known nothing else. So thank you. And for those watching YouTube, please vote. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Well said. Well said. Yes, I remember that. Dear. Okay, any others? Councillor Rip.
Well, that's a definitely hard act to follow the deputy mayor group. Sorry, former deputy mayor. Oh, and the former. Well, you mean the future deputy mayor.
Deputy.
I'm thinking about the future when you're regular. It's in a vision.
Thank you. And it was Deputy Lord Mayor. I think fairly should be holding Deputy Lord, former Deputy
So I was
Lord
thinking
Mayor.
2023 when you
That's right.
but look, I personally want to thank have the mayor and all the elected members here. I've thoroughly, actually, I'm going to say I've had an absolute blast the last 4 years. We all, whether we've had a difference of an opinion or not, we've all gotten along, we've all respected each other. The debate stays in the chamber, and that's what I really respect about everyone around this room. I'll happily call you all my friends, and I do hope you sincerely all keep in touch after this, because I think it's been fantastic what we've actually been able to achieve by working together and actually being positive with each other and showing some other councils how you can actually get things done and get along and be respectful. And I think some can learn from that, definitely. I also want to pay particular thanks to my co-councillor Alan Harris. I've really enjoyed working with him. He's been an absolute pleasure to work closely with to deliver for our ward. Even when we've had differences of opinions, we've talked to each other, we've come to consensuses, And I think I know Alan will safely say, and I'll safely say for Alan, I'm obviously sad that he can't be here tonight, but want to put on the record my thanks to him for the way he wears his heart on his sleeve and represents the board. I'm also sad for him that he's unfortunately with the recent family situation, he's not able to restand, because I think he would still even have more to offer as well. But I respect the service and the long service that Alan has done for the area as well. I want to thank the staff, and particularly Chris for being a great CEO coming on board. One of your probably the council's biggest improvements, I think, even in the last 6 or 12 months that I've seen, is on project management. I've seen that, and it was one of my pet. I must admit, it was one of my pet hates when I came here. I remember seeing an email a year after being on. And then forwarding that email to a former director, and then to hear, oh, and that just got lost in the wind, nothing's happened. So the way you're able to, with the resolution register to make sure nothing gets forgotten, we've noticed that big time, we've all talked about it here. So really respect the restructure, the staff, and what you're all able, as individuals, able to achieve under your leadership, CEO. So thank you. Thank you for that. It's obviously been a pleasure to represent East Ward, deliver locally. I won't mention the ones I did before, but obviously I'll be closely monitoring the Broadview Hub as one that comes to mind and want to see the work we've all been doing in terms of getting that master plan endorsed, to getting the conservation out there, to getting, and I've been really thrilled with the way the clubs even work with council. It's been one of my biggest, I think one of the biggest achievements of what we can do as a council when we actually have stakeholders working together, and I thank the Broadview Football Club and the other tenants of Broadview Oval for working with council on that master plan. And I also particularly want to thank my wife Emma and my 2-year-old daughter. We actually went for a walk the other day, and surprisingly we weren't letterboxing. And Olivia turned to me and she said, "Dad, flyer, box." I said, "No, it's great to go for a walk. We're not sticking something in a letterbox." And I taught her at the age of 2 how to letterbox, and she said, "Flyer, box." And so I thought, well, we're off to a good start. But no, Emma's particularly. I cracked up laughing for the whole walk, let me tell you. But I know particularly I do want to thank my wife Emma for what I've put her through this year. With the state election in March, the federal election in May, and we had the by-election in Bragg, and the council election. Safe to say, I'm looking forward to seeing the back of elections in 2022, and I think the pressure it's put my family under too. I think I think I'll speak on Emily's behalf and say that she's looking forward to the back of it as well. But yeah, look, each of you have. I sincerely hope that each one of this around this table is restanding is re-elected. I sincerely, I've never worked with a better bunch of people, and yeah, you all deserve to be re-elected, and you will generally represent your community with the best of intentions. So all the best for your elections, and even though I look forward to hopefully different times ahead with Walkerville, I will definitely put on along the time of that here. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any further member briefings? They don't need to be. Yeah, councillor Pearce.
I'll just be quick.
But you haven't written much down, or?
No, I'll just read a little bit. I'm not as professional as this guy here. I'm also going to thank obviously the other co-councillors. We have had a lot of robust discussion about various items, but everyone gets on with it. There's no animosity and no bitterness, and it's a pleasure working with you all. I'm a pretty optimistic guy, so I'm not going to thank the current people that have nominated again. I'm just going to shoot you over here. So I will say goodbye to Stephen. It's been a pleasure working with you. You're very professional. Came in with experience from a previous council, clearly. Being new on council like Twee and I, it's a lot to learn. You probably first 12, 18 months, you're really learning the ropes. It's a bit daunting at first. Probably, and that's why I've re-nominated, because I think you wasted those years if you don't give another term. I don't know how some people like Christina and Alan do it for that length of time. I think that's a magnificent effort. And also thank Alan, of course, who won't be back. He's a different person, very, very likable person, but very honest. You know where you stand with Alan. And of course, all the staff, including Scott, who does a magnificent job on the council assessment panel, and all the Ginny and Sam and the new people. I think the new staff we've got, without a doubt, and I've said it to them all, I find are fantastically professional, and the place has really moved forward in those last 4 or 5 months, and that the new staff are on. Chris, you've done a great job, took a big punt on what you did, and already you can see it's come off. Before you said goodbye to David, and I'll say again, very sorry to see you go, but I understand the situation, and life goes on. I just did want to add when Twee said that, so many people, what do you do? But we went to the LGA conference in Canberra, Alison and Chris and myself, and poor old Chris, unfortunately, spent most of the time in his hotel room. But I was also astounded. I think we did a tally on how many people David actually knows, like at the Australian conference, and I think we got up to 360, didn't we?
I think you, yeah.
It was quite amazing, the number of people and connections he's got, obviously, through being on that in that position, and it's a credit to him that the contacts he's got and how that's helped Prospect. I've lived in Prospect for over 65 years. I was born in 8 Olive Street down here, and the back of the council chambers here was our playground where we played footy and cricket and everything else. And I think it was who was the town clerk? Was it town clerk there? Pash, was it?
Yeah.
There was a North Valley footballer. He used to come out sometimes when he was working here on a Sunday and tell us to piss off because we were bouncing the ball against the wall. But apart from that, the changes in Prospect Road are just enormous. On the night of the dinner, I don't know who put together the projections on the old buildings, like where the pizza shop is now. That was a shoe store where we went, and the old butcher shops, remember, and the green grocery and everything. It's a massive change, and for those people that have been on council for those long periods of time, like Christina and Alan and David and Mark, 12 years is a great term again. It's a daunting task. So let's get on with it and move forward.
We'll see. Any further member briefings? If not, we'll move on. Thank you for those. They're great insights.
Could I just say ditto?
You absolutely can say ditto, and I'll mark you down as having spoken, saying ditto. Thank you for those contributions and great reflections. And as I said before, wish you all very well in your campaigns and next endeavours. Moving on to item 14, motions on notice, nil. Questions of notice, nil. Confidential items, nil. I think for us to have so little direct interaction and so little from the gallery at our last council meeting is a really good indication of the lack of controversy around what this council has done. So it's a credit to all of you and to the staff. Thank you for that. Meeting is now closed. I believe the CEO, you have some refreshments available to us. So it's a sort of a mini celebration, so please stay for that. I think there is cheese and biscuits. And there might be some more. So you're very welcome to stay. And the gallery, I invite all the gallery to stay and enjoy the large guests of this last council meeting. Alison. Yeah. Thank you. We're still being televised.
Well done.
Could we shut down the live link? We can.
And we've got to thank you for serving your community.
They're very talking.
And while it is shut